This project is a response to the horrible hurricane that hit in 2012 at the very end of October. The entire eastern seaboard was badly damaged, but in particular, Staten Island was a place that was horribly crushed by this.
We basically suffered a surge, is what happened. We had a significant amount of rain, but our oceanfront just surged up, and we had our streets about 15 feet deep with water in some areas. We had boats up against houses. We had cars lost miles away. Neighbors had other neighbors' property come in through their windows and their front doors, and it was a mess. It was a big disaster, and the survivors still tell the story like it was yesterday.
I called my treasurer, Scott, and I said, what are we going to do?
We weren't real excited about what our denomination was doing. They were trying to help churches, which obviously was needed. We wanted to try to help individual people that might be falling through the cracks.
We began to think about how we might be helpful. And one of the reasons we settled on Staten Island was we started calling churches and ministers in UU churches in areas that had been affected up and down the coast. And Staten Island was a place that we got a response.
A couple of churches she called were like, no, we're really not equipped to do that. We're not in touch with people who were affected. We were lucky. We're far enough from the storm-damaged area that just didn't make sense. And then she called the church on Staten Island, and they started crying because they were so grateful and so excited to have somebody reach out to them and provide help.
They called up. They were one of the first people that called and wanted to know, what can we do? How can we help?
As it turns out, they were serving as a distribution center on the island, so they were having direct contact with hundreds of storm victims every week. It was an ideal fit.
And we were trying to find ways to get as much money as possible into the hands of people who had been affected by the floods. One of the ways that our church has raised money for ourselves and for other projects is through the purchase of gift cards.
And in those first 2 weeks, we sent them about $3,500 worth of gift cards that people were able to take to the store right away, get some hot food, get diapers, get medicine, get cleaning supplies, the basic things they needed. After we sent them grocery store cards for a few weeks, they said, that's not what people are asking us for now. They need to be able to buy lumber and lighting fixtures and replace power tools that were lost and things of that nature. So we sent them several $1,000s worth of Home Depot gift cards over a few weeks. And then the needs changed again. At this point, we were getting close to Christmas, and they said, what people really need are to start replacing things for the kids and try to make a holiday for them. So we did that and sent about $3,000 or $4,000 worth of gift cards that could be used at Kmart or Sears, and got those in the hands of people in Staten Island during the month of December, so right before the holidays.
I talked with my RGL person, who is Sarah Kelly, and Sarah wanted to get the kids involved.
And she said, we want to find a way to connect our kids who had been through a flood, who'd had schools closed, who'd lost school supplies and all of that, with their kids who are going through the same thing.
I would say probably in November we started contacting schools to see about doing letter writing campaigns. And we started with Bloomsburg and Danville, approaching them first, figuring they know exactly what it's like to have flood damage. And the Danville Middle School agreed, and the principal set up a letter writing station for us at the school. And we set up another one at our church for our own kids to write letters. And we sent a batch of letters right before Christmas, I guess, to the kids here to say, we're thinking about you. Kids are not forgotten either. So much of the focus is on the adults. and they really liked getting those. So we decided to expand the program in January, and I made mailboxes, little blue mailboxes, to go in 7 libraries in 7 communities all along the Susquehanna River. And we've been collecting letters ever since.
In January, Anne said, we have to go there. Okay, we have to go to Staten Island. We need to meet people. We need to do something with our hands and be on the ground. And she came up with this kind of crazy idea saying, I'm going to ask 1,500 people to give us $10, and we're going to raise $15,000. And sometime in the spring, probably in April or May, we'll hire a bus and we'll go to Staten Island.
And some people said, don't be ridiculous. I don't know 5 people. And I'm like, yeah, we know people. Let's ask people for money.
And I thought she was nuts, but I've known Anne long enough to say, let's give it a shot. We put up a web page and opened a PayPal account. Then one day there were 7 or 8 contributions coming in through PayPal, and then another day there might be a dozen. We got contributions from as far away as California and Hawaii. I get a check in the mail here from one of our members and said, I want to pay for the bus. So now the idea starts to get real. This is something we're going to do now. And as it turns out, by the end of May, when we're ready to make the trip, we have collected $15,000 from people in the congregation around the Susquehanna Valley and all over the country.
We also decided that what we would do, in addition to the money we raised, was take them a party for all of the people who have been working all of this amount of time. And so I'm lucky enough to be married to a drummer, and I said to him, darling, wouldn't you like to put together a band for me to take to Staten Island? And he said, absolutely. And so we put together a band, we put together a big party, we hired a bus, we got people on the bus, and we went over to Staten Island.
They wanted to come and bring a bus and come and do some service work, and then they also wanted to give us a Mayfair, something to just make our lives a little more pleasant. So we teamed up and sponsored this Mayfair and invited all the long-term recovery organizations and all of El Centro and all of the Unitarian Church of Staten Island, and of course, all the people from the Susquehanna Valley that we are so grateful to. So grateful to. I can't express that in words.
Our people gathered, we got on a bus at 6 o'clock, and we had people who had volunteered to get breakfast for us. So people got on the bus and they got fed. There was breakfast, there was coffee, there was hot chocolate. People arrived over there about 9:30, 10 o'clock. We'd had to drive, and I had gotten my first real visions of what the island looked like. And so we'd had to drive through all of this horribly affected land, and then boiling out of the bus were a bunch of very excited UUs from central Pennsylvania who were here to be of service. And we had 2 groups of people. The larger group was going to work right away on projects, some of which required hazmat suits, some of which required getting your hands dirty in community gardens. People were cutting back bush, people were putting together shelves. There were all sorts of jobs that people were involved in.
We did send one team of some more experienced gentlemen to go over and help out a pair of handicapped brothers who are trying to rehabilitate the home, and they still needed appliance removal, cabinet removal, drywall removal, the whole 9. But mold is the focus right now. That's the biggest piece. The weather's getting warmer. It's probably the most time-sensitive piece of this because these folks just don't have safe and healthy homes. They can get back in. We could give them new floors and new furniture, but you don't want to close up those walls with abundant mold growth. So the remediation is what we're really trying to get to right now.
And other people went back to the church and started getting ready for a party to happen. And we had food that we had purchased from 2 vendors in the city, and so a lot of Pennsylvanians got their first taste of churros. and their first taste of tamales, and they were amazing. So. The party was great. It was great. I mean, that's one of the wonderful things about the Susquehanna Valley. Nobody understands what talent we have here. So we had a fabulous band of youngsters and oldsters, and that was great. The food was remarkable, and we actually did some mingling, which was really fun. There was a fairly large representative group from two of the populations that we were helping. One was El Centro del Inmigrante, and quite a few of their people were there. There were wonderful stories, and our people were busy getting stories. There weren't any strangers at the very big tables. And then we had to spend a lot of time trying to figure out where all the incredible amount of food that we brought was going to go and who it served. So we served this population, food went to a group that would be serving dinner to volunteers and to people who were still homeless. We put up a maypole, we had a labyrinth outside. There were all sorts of things that reminded us that this was a spiritual experience as well as a community support and community celebration. And fun was had. We were so excited. People who didn't go nonetheless donated. They donated time, they donated money, they donated food. I mean, if you'd have seen the list of stuff that we took with us, and they're ready for more, which was a very exciting thing for our church. This was the first time we've ever gotten on a bus and done anything. And we're excited for new possibilities.
We had a number of people who could not go on this trip who said, oh, let us know if you do this again. And we all thought, boy, we've never done this before, I don't know. And I think everybody's going to go home on the bus thinking, when can we do this again? So that's really exciting for us.
You know, we knew, because many of us have gone through this, you understand what it means, but you also forget very easily what it means to be of service, and that's a joy. And it may be a deep responsibility that we have to be of service to people, but it's an incredible privilege as well. And that was definitely felt.
And it was, I think, really gratifying for everybody who was involved in it. We felt not only like we had built a stronger church community here, but that we'd made a connection with another church community at a time when they really needed it.
And I just went on and on and on because my heart's so full of just love and appreciation for all that you have done for us. You know, when you go through something like this, you just don't know what it does to people's psyche and their souls. And so just that you all had been through that kind of thing with a hurricane before, and you know what it's like. We're just so grateful to you all.
So it really helped build connections and made us feel that even though we're small and kind of in the middle of nowhere, we really can make a difference.